Hi, friends. Even though I feel weird at this angle, I guess I'm keeping it there. Hmm. Okay, well, I just finished reading this part on limitation. The 60th gene key, the shadow of limitation, the gift of realism, and the city of justice. Okay. Its programming partner is the 56th gene key. The physiology it's associated with is the colon. And it's with the codon ring, the ring of Gaia. And the amino acid is isoleucine. Okay. So the 60th shadow limitation, closed circuit thinking. The 60th shadow represents one of the most potent forces responsible for pulling humankind in the opposite direction of evolution. It is the power of devolution and limitation, and is the counterweight to life itself. When one consistently yields to its shadow frequency, this gene key catalyzes death. The 60th shadow will shut down your life receiving faculties, essentially freezing life into ever tighter patterns over the course of time. In our modern world, the 60th shadow is apparent everywhere. Up until now, in our human evolution, all of our dreams of a harmonious world have been thwarted by this one single force, the shadow of limitation. Unless you can escape its frequency, the 60th shadow will prevent you from seeing that life has a built-in mechanism for righting itself. At the shadow frequency, this will cause you to distrust the flow of life. The 60th shadow and its gifts are about structure. The law of all form is that no structure can last. Each and every one of them comes programmed to eventually decline and die, which tower moments will happen. Tower moments are inevitable, right? There will be a crumbling. The 60th shadow and its gift, realism, are about structure. The law of all form is that no structure can last. Each and every one of them comes programmed to eventually decline and die. The 60th shadow concerns the human over-reliance on structure and the consequent death of something very special indeed, magic. Magic refers to events that do not follow logical, sequential laws. Magic is spontaneous, highly mutative, unpredictable, and uncontrollable. Its greatest quality is that it is beyond meaning or understanding. The 60th shadow, limitation, is the greatest critic of magic. Like, we all want to live a life of magic, right? Don't we? Limitation is the greatest critic of magic. All structures eventually dissolve and falter. It is important to understand that it is always the structure itself that causes the decline. Structures are an essential part of life. However, all structures are expendable. The body itself is an expendable structure, as is the earth. In order for consciousness to keep penetrating the world of form, structures will always be necessary until the form itself has been transmuted. The way I see that is like, we're all technically made of light, and light exists both as a wave and a particle at the same time. And it's like, until we take that particle and turn it into a wave, right? Until we go from this dense structure, this dense form of matter, and into a form of pure energy. That's kind of how I'm reading that. And then magic is, energy transmuted. So, the 60th shadow creates an over-attachment and over-reliance on form instead of highlighting the indwelling spirit or idea. So that shadow of limitation keeps you Like if our body is the structure, that's saying the shadow of limitation creates an over attachment and over reliance on the body instead of highlighting the spirit within. You know, we focus more on the physical than the ethereal. The other side of the shadow of limitation is about the past. Whenever and wherever people remain stuck because of an outdated mindset, the 60th shadow is at work. This is an archetype deep within human DNA that has always tried to control and suppress the youth of the world. Of course, the greatest limitation of all is human thinking itself. This is where the 60th shadow tries to strangle life at the individual level. Because of our cultural conditioning, your mind gets used to thinking within certain mental structures, and you become comfortable within those structures. Yeah. I try to wake up every day and just like cut all the ties to all of those pre-programmed ideas and try to start new. I've even tried, it's like, are these foods really bad for you, or is it your belief that they're bad for you that makes them bad? Where's the line with that? We don't know. The main reason for the death of magic is closed circuit thinking, where the mind follows familiar patterns or systems of thought around and around without the ability to think beyond them, like ruminating thoughts. I've experienced so much of that in the past. It is out of this closed circuit thinking that all self-limiting forms are ultimately brought into this world. Okay, so now we're getting into the repressive and the reactive natures. This is specifically for me, this is associated with my creativity. So like the shadow that inhibits my own creativity is limitation. That means that the gift within my creativity is realism. I think that's so cool. Because whether that comes out in making realistic art or just being able to have a new creative spin on things that are real. Anyways, the reason I'm saying that is I'm very probably on the repress, I like repress limitations. I almost abhor limitations. And that comes out for me personally in a more unstructured manner. The repressive nature is unstructured. When the 60th gene key is repressed, the result is a deep lack of structure in a person's life. At a cellular level, this can actually cause physical trouble or disease because such structure holds together the physiological functioning of the organism. There's a lot there. The lives of such people never seem to be harmonious as they are out of kilter with their true nature. They are afraid of structure and commitment, and this fear prevents them from finding the correct allies or environment for their gifts to bloom. It even said, I was about to say, and it's, helpful to have some direction. And here it says, these people need strong structures in life. For example, family, career, and a sense of direction. I have that right now. That helps. Sense of direction. Yay. So the reactive nature is rigid. When the 60th shadow is expressed through an angry nature, it becomes deeply controlling and rigid. These people cannot allow others to question anything they say or do. The reactive nature of this shadow creates an over-reliance on form and structure to the detriment of the original spirit or idea within the structure. That is a lot for me to unpack. I don't fully understand it. These people assume that any new idea or way of doing things is a threat to their security, and they react accordingly. They do not have any real understanding of relationships, since they cannot allow others to transgress their own behavioral codes or opinions. Unless they are able to let go of their stranglehold on life, they will eventually shrivel up and decline. So that to me is like what happens whenever you're trying too hard to keep your hands on the reins of the chariot. You know, you have added a bridle and reins to the chariot where you didn't need one, and now you've pulled yourself so far off course through this rigidity. You're not supposed to be there. Now, this is cool, okay? First of all, I make a lot of comparisons to like us being the vessel, us being the cup, and this is called the cracking of the vessel. This whole gene key. So the shadow of limitation was closed circuit thinking, but the gift of realism is the common sense of magic, and I love that. I have not read the gift yet, which is interesting. A lot of these. Ooh, I need to bust out a new highlighter now that I've done 64, 63, and 61. Because I'm highlighting all the ones that I have done. I haven't made videos on all of them, but like the ones that I've read over the years. I've had this book since like 2022, I think. And I haven't even read all of my own keys, right? It's about time I got to this. So I'm excited to read that. The Common Sense of Magic. And the city, the Earthship Merkaba. That'll be fun. So, I'm going to leave this here for now. And contemplate it. Contemplate what I've read and learned from this section on limitation. And then get into that next part of realism and magic a little bit later. So, thanks.